The night it happened, the city didn't pause to notice her. Rain soaked the broken sidewalk, neon lights flickered, and buses hissed past like nothing in the world was wrong. But for Maya, everything changed the moment she heard a stranger gasp for air behind her and collapse onto the cold pavement. She was already exhausted. A single mother of 6-year-old Arif, Maya worked 2 jobs and still worried every night about rent, school fees, and whether the electricity would last the week. That evening she had just finished her shift at a small diner, tips barely enough to buy groceries. Her phone buzzed with a message from the landlord reminding her that the rent was overdue. Her chest felt tight with fear, yet she kept walking, thinking only about getting home to her son. Then she heard it. A sharp, terrifying sound. Someone choking, struggling to breathe. Maya turned and saw a man in an expensive suit clutching his chest, his face pale, eyes wide with panic. People walked past, some slowing for a second, others pretending not to see. The men tried to stand, failed, and collapsed. For a moment, Maya froze. She had no medical degree, no fancy training. Just a memory from years ago, when her father had suffered a heart attack and a neighbor had saved his life before the ambulance arrived. Her heart pounded as fear whispered that she might do something wrong. But another thought was louder. If she walked away, he would die. She dropped her bag and ran to him. Kneeling on the wet ground, she spoke to him softly, telling him to stay awake, to focus on her voice. She called emergency services with shaking hands, put the phone on speaker, and followed every instruction. She loosened his tie, checked his breathing, and when his chest stopped moving, she began compressions, counting through tears as rain mixed with sweat on her face. The minutes felt endless. Her arms burned, her knees ached, but she didn't stop. All she could see was her son's face, the fear of losing someone you love, the helplessness she once felt. She refused to let that happen again. When the ambulance finally arrived, paramedics rushed in and took over. One of them looked at Maya with surprise and said she had done everything right. As they loaded the men onto the stretcher, his eyes fluttered open. For a brief second, he looked at her, confused and weak, but grateful. Then they were gone. Maya sat on the pavement long after the sirens faded, her hands trembling. No one thanked her. No one asked her name. She picked up her bag, wiped her face, and went home to her son, who was asleep on the couch waiting for her. She kissed his forehead and whispered that everything would be okay, even though she wasn't sure she believed it herself. Days passed. Life didn't magically improve. The diner cut her hours. Arif caught a fever. The landlord posted a final notice on her door. Maya felt the weight of the world pressing down harder than ever. Saving a stranger hadn't changed her reality. Kindness, it seemed, didn't pay bills. Then one morning, there was a knock at her door. 2 men in suits stood outside her tiny apartment, looking wildly out of place in the narrow hallway. Maya's heart raced with fear. She wondered if something was wrong, if she was in trouble somehow. One of the men smiled gently and asked her name. When she nodded, he said they were looking for her on behalf of a man named Daniel Reeves. The name meant nothing to her. They explained that Daniel Reeves was the man she had saved. He had suffered a massive heart attack and survived because of her quick action. He wanted to see her, to thank her personally. Maya hesitated. She didn't own nice clothes. She didn't feel important enough to meet anyone special. But something in their tone told her this mattered. That afternoon, she found herself sitting in a private hospital room, nervously twisting her hands. The man on the bed looked healthier now, color back in his face, eyes sharp and thoughtful. When he saw her, he struggled to sit up, emotion filling his expression. He told her that he remembered her voice. That calm voice in the rain that kept him alive when his heart wanted to stop. He said her face was the last thing he saw before darkness took over, and the first thing he asked about when he woke up. Then he told her who he was. Daniel Reeves was the CEO of one of the largest tech companies in the country. A self-made millionaire, known for his brilliance, his ambition, and his ruthless focus on success. He had boardrooms full of powerful people, homes in multiple cities, and everything money could buy. Everything, except someone who cared when he collapsed alone on the street. Maya listened quietly as he spoke, tears filling her eyes when he thanked her. She tried to brush it off, saying anyone would have done the same. Daniel shook his head and said that wasn't true. Many people had walked past him that night. She was the one who stopped. He asked about her life, and for the first time in years, Maya told her story. About being a single mother, about her husband leaving, about working endlessly just to survive. She didn't ask for help. She didn't even expect sympathy. She just spoke honestly. A week later, Maya was called back to the hospital. This time, Daniel wasn't there to thank her. He was there to change her life. He had arranged full medical coverage for her son. He cleared her rent and secured her a safe, comfortable apartment closer to Ariv's school. He offered her a job at his company, not as charity, but because he said he wanted people with her courage and heart around him. People who acted when it mattered. Maya was overwhelmed. She cried, not because of the money or the job, but because for the first time, someone had seen her. Not as a poor single mom struggling to survive, but as a person whose life and choices mattered. But Daniel didn't stop there. He started a foundation in her name, focused on teaching basic life-saving skills to ordinary people, especially in low-income communities. He said if more people knew what Maya knew, more lives could be saved. Months later, Maya stood in a small classroom, teaching others how to recognize the signs of a heart attack. Ariv sat in the front row, watching his mother with pride shining in his eyes. The challenges didn't disappear overnight. Maya still worked hard. She still worried sometimes. But the fear that once ruled her life was gone. She had stability, purpose, and hope. And Daniel, the millionaire CEO who once measured his worth in profits and power, learned a lesson that night in the rain. That true wealth isn't in money or status, but in the courage to stop, to care, and to save a stranger without expecting anything in return. The world hadn't noticed Maya before. But because she chose compassion over fear, her quiet strength changed more than one life. It changed the meaning of success itself. And it all began with a single moment, on a rainy street, when a poor single mother refused to walk away.